All right, my friends, how are you today? Aaron here bringing you your full moon lunar eclipse horoscope for the 4th/5th of July, 2020. All right, so we have the last of our three eclipses here, our summer eclipses here of 2020. All right, so the North Node has moved out of Cancer, Capricorn, or the North Node has moved out of Cancer, South Node out of Capricorn, and they've switched into Gemini and to Sagittarius. All right, so they move every 18 months. Now, the sun and the moon, of course, if it's a North Node eclipse, the new moon would be with the North Node. If it's a South Node eclipse, the moon and the sun would be with the South Node. Well, this is a South Node lunar eclipse, meaning the sun is connected or loosely connected to the North Node, while the moon is connected to the South Node. Okay. So part of us is releasing the past, ego self expression. Ego self is releasing something of the past. This is about emotion. Okay, we're in the water sign. The sun itself is in the water sign of Cancer. All right, Mercury very close to the sun, also retrograde in the sign of Cancer. Okay, so this is stuck emotional energy that's either locked in our heads or locked somewhere between our heart and our head that's having a hard time coming out. Okay, so what this energy is saying is we need to express ourselves. We need to be able to express our emotions. However, there's a time and a place to do that. So we have the moon in Capricorn, which the moon is home in Cancer. The moon wants to, nourish and be nurturing and be comforting. Okay, it's the womb. It's Earth's natural satellite, right? This loving, mothering energy. And when we're talking about Capricorn, well, this is like the business world at large, where it's just like, dry up your tears, the show must go on, right? It's like we have no time for emotions here. Okay. Now in the past 18 months, the South Node's been in Capricorn. So this is letting go of a government or how we govern ourselves, or letting go of this concept of a government where it's changed. This is a very far off eclipse. And this wraps up the last 2 years of our lives. Where were we 2 years ago? Okay, so where were you the summer of 2018? What were you doing? What were you thinking? How were you feeling about life? What was going on? Let's take a little trip back there. Take a little meditation. Take some time for yourself. Should be taking a lot of time for ourselves with the sun and Mercury retrograde in Cancer right now. This is self-care. Right? Nurturing. So the eclipses, the lunar eclipses, are always going to be about, this is examining our shadow. We're seeing the shadow of Earth on the moon. And anything within 18 degrees of the sun and the moon is going to be the eclipse when we're close to the nodes here. So this is far off. Okay? We're barely going to see a shadow on the moon of Earth, right? So this happens at 12:46 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time, and for everybody else, obviously, what time zone you're in. It's most likely going to happen on July 4th for you. So it's an interesting, day of independence. And we have this stellium up here in Capricorn. So it's like as the South Node has gone out of the Capricorn energy, we still have a lot. Jupiter, Pluto, and Saturn all retrograde right now. We're reevaluating the abundance of what materials we need in our life in order to go on. We're reevaluating how much government do we truly need in our lives to feel safe, to feel protected, and the people in the streets of peace, right? We're reevaluating this power of our government during this time. And as well, Big Papa Bear Saturn just came home late on July 1st. It's like, okay, I'm here to clean up and do business. I'm here to do the dishes, clean the floors, and do whatever I've got to do. I've got to govern myself and make this happen before I take this next 30-year journey. Okay, so Saturn's creating a lot of laws going on right now. So we have a lot of law and order and rethinking and transformation of law and order on a global level, on a country-to-country level, as well as on an independent level. Okay, so this eclipse is highlighting part of that energy of, do we feel powerless to the government at large? Do we feel powerless? And what are we giving our attention to, right? Sometimes, pay attention. You know what I mean? It's just like, where are you? We can be on our cell phones, Instagram and Facebook, and we can be a million miles away, and where is our attention? Where is our focus? Where is our presence right now? How are we emotionally giving to this place and this time, this right now? Again, we're talking about somewhere between the emotional body and the physical world, the physical, okay? The Aquarian energy is ended for now, which Saturn in Aquarius was saying make the real world this digital, technological driven revolution. And that's exactly what's been going on since Saturn entered Aquarius in January. Okay, we've been it's just like our communication has been through, virtual classes, virtual yoga, virtual meditation, virtual whatever it may be. And this is saying, let's come back to this physical reality. Let's come back to this communication. It might be difficult to communicate our feelings, okay? And this eclipse here is saying we have to communicate. The North Node is in Gemini, ruling planet of Mercury. Mercury in Cancer, so closely connected to the sun, okay? So this eclipse is saying communicate, communicate, communicate your emotions, okay? Because what happens, we bottle this stuff up, we break. It's an eruption, right? And that's not where we want to be. We're creating a new pace and a new feel for life in general, where it's just like we don't want to have these constant high ups and high downs, and that's kind of the Capricorn energy, is the peak of Mount Everest as well as the lowest valley of the ocean is the Capricorn energy, right? The highest highs to the lowest lows. And we as individuals alive on this physical reality and this physical existence on planet Earth, we are willing to go to those highs and lows to survive as a species. And it is important that we connect with our emotions and communicate, okay? It's also interesting, everything is paradoxical. There's always two sides of the coin, especially when we're dealing with something, Gemini energy, Venus in Gemini as well as the North Node in Gemini. So it's just like also saying, when is there a time and a place where our emotions need to take the back seat, where we need to, again, pay attention, be here right now? Because oftentimes when we're, I got to say this carefully, when we're swept away in our emotions, that's just it. We're swept away. We're not present here and now. We're often complaining or communicating, talking about a problem or something that happened in the past or a future thing that's going on, and it's often not, here right now. And it's just like, well, deal with that when it gets there, So where is there a time and a place for our emotions right now? And when can we say like, this isn't important. This isn't worth me getting upset over. I think that's one of the biggest things that we're coming into is what's worth getting knocked off of our peace, right? Every day we wake up, and we want to have a peaceful life. I think that's you can speak for just about everyone. We want to have peace in our hearts, smile, and we want to say hello to people generally, have good conversations, and have an easy flow, right? And this energy is saying it's important to maintain our peace and to communicate if we're being knocked out of our peace. And that's the kind of thing that might be difficult, and it could be any kind of communication with a partner, or a friend, or a coworker, a boss, a relative, But this is, again, communicating the heart. And this is for the next 6 months. So this is concluding 2 years of our lives, saying where in this have we held back instead of communicating forward? Where have we held back instead of opening up and expressing? Where have we been too emotionally expressive instead of being more reserved and focused on what's needed right now at this point in time? Does that make sense? Again, it's very paradoxical, but that's the thing. We're seeing, this is an eclipse. This is Uranian energy, where we have that breakthrough energy where we say, aha, there is both. There is a balance between me expressing my emotions, and there's a place and time where I just need to not and be here now, because they can all change, right? So wrapping up 2 years of our lives, focused on the next 6 months. Eclipses, again, are seeing the lunar eclipses, again, especially connected to the south node, is seeing our shadow and releasing something. So what is it, so North Node saying go in this direction of being a seeker yourself. Seek the information, seek the knowledge, so that way you have done the work, you have done the math, and when during conversation, you can say, I fact checked this. You know what I mean? I've done my due diligence. I've done my homework, right? So North Node is saying, do your homework, follow this follow this. Follow your heart, follow your emotions. If something feels off, follow that direction. Or further, if something feels off, communicate about it and ask. This is extremely important, as the other six, of this, the first six is us present. This is about my emotions, and this is about other people. So sometimes what we feel independently might not be a shared feeling from somebody else. It might be miscommunication. It might be misunderstanding. We are in the midst of a Mercury retrograde. We just got over a Venus retrograde. Mars is in Aries, which is, all right, it's like all of this pinched, held back energy is now flowing forward. We feel this fire under us. We want to get going. So communication or the information that we're receiving might not have been accurate. I don't know if that's easy to say, but sometimes we feel things that just aren't the reality until we open up and communicate with the other person, the other parties. Which is why the moon is saying communicate or to go in this place of collective, or bigger business as well, and how we're governing ourselves and letting go of the knowledge that no longer serves us, it holds us back. If we're holding on to knowledge in our heads that's saying, that I'm not capable of doing this, or this is too much for me, or this person, this is one of my favorites. I hear this all the time when I'm working with people, and they're like, oh, well, my partner doesn't understand me, or they will not do this. And it's just like every time we say things like that, we communicate those feelings from our hearts. We're solidifying that. We're putting that out there and making that a solid wall. And now it makes it much more difficult for that person to do this. So this is like a philosophy. We're communicating a philosophy. That philosophy, that concept, that idea doesn't serve us where we're going. We ultimately, what the individual wants is their partner to listen or to change or to grow or whatever it may be. And by saying, this is never going to happen, your wish is my command, right? Says Neptune septile over there to Saturn. Okay, both in their most powerful places right now. Neptune being home in Pisces, Saturn being home in Capricorn. This is saying your wish is my command. What do you want? What kind of lifestyle do you want? How do you want to live? How do you want to wake up every single day? Do you want that peace in your heart? If so, we do have to do the hard work for it, right? Capricorn's about putting in the work. So doing the hard work and again, letting go of what doesn't serve, letting go of the small stuff, focusing on the things that really make your heart sing and make you feel passionate and excited about living life. This is an exciting eclipse. It's an exciting 6 months ahead of us. In a few months here, Mars in Aries is going to retrograde from September to November. Things are going to heat up a lot, So this eclipse again is, what are we releasing, and what about ourselves are we releasing when we are putting the carriage before the horse in communication? Again, this is back to that. Are we feeling something that might not necessarily be real without communicating it, and then we're harboring our feelings, and then it stirs and builds up, and so we just want to be mindful too of like these next 6 months. This is a very life-changing energy, and to just not jump ahead. Tortoise wins the race in this next 6 months of the year. So being a little bit slow and methodical. Okay, and that's a Capricorn way to go. The mountain goat, slow and methodical, getting up that mountain. So it's a really interesting eclipse. Again, this is the conclusion of 2 years, the forecast or foreshadow of the next 6 months, where we're going, what we're seeking out, and how much work we're willing to do to get the information that we're seeking out, that's going to lead to that life-changing experience that changes our daily life. Happy eclipses. All right, happy 4th of July, happy 5th of July, happy eclipse. Some cool energy. Got a wild 6 months ahead of us. So cheers, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow.